Hello YouTube, you got Video Game House here once again with a new deck profile. I have to preface this video a little bit differently than I have in most of my videos. Normally I make the deck, I play the deck, I record the video, edit the video, all of it's on my own. This one is going to be a little bit different. We were in a tournament, the late night 167, I believe. And we were playing in the matches. We checked out the meta standings and we saw somebody who was 5-0. I was curious to what their deck was and found out they were playing this. This is a Lost Zone Dialga deck list. Now, it is very different and incredibly difficult to pilot. I've said this many times before, whether on stream or off stream, that the decks are not about building the deck and knowing the deck is good and then playing the deck. Because you can have a really strong deck with a really bad pilot. It happens. With this deck, I would never allow somebody to start playing Pokemon and then recommend playing Lost Box. The deck has a lot of mental thought, having to know a lot of high-level strategies, tips, tricks, and how to play the deck itself. And whereas I can say that this deck is incredible and it's gotten a lot of finishes, it will need like 50 full game play tests before anyone understands all of its different outs and how to play the deck properly. I'll start the video with I was able to get in contact with the person who was running the deck. I asked for their list, we worked together, and we actually made a Discord call together in order to shoot the video. And this deck has seen some incredible finishes. They sent me a list of their recent history. They went into the Paradox Redacted number 12. They got 7th place of 115. The Tournament of Doom, they got 15th of 125. The Team Rocket League Cup, they still ended up with 10th of 40. Blue Ditto Weekly, they went 2nd of 106. And the SBB Super Series, 4th of 56. And just recently, in the late night that I mentioned a moment ago, they were able to capture 2nd place with this list out of like 200 plus players. If you guys want to check her out on Twitter, her name is @ShiraYunker. Junker, I probably said that wrong. So it's at ShiraYunker! Twitter link will be in the description below, so you can check that out. Follow her. She does an amazing job with the deck. Very good person, very nice person. We were able to hang out for a while in order to get this all set up. So we're going to go straight into our games now, and I hope you enjoy, because this thing is just wildly insane. Yeah, our opponent got to choose who goes first. I'm pretty sure throughout the entirety of the game that's what happened, so not amazing, but whatever. But yeah, so if you guys want to check out the deck list, it'll be in the description below. I'll try and bring up a picture of it possibly by the end of the video and show it off, but for right now, guaranteed I know it's in the description below. Funny enough, it looks like we open our first game with our Lost Zone Dialga versus some sort of Lost Box variant. Unfortunately, our opponent did go first, dropped a Klefki on the bench, and passed. So, not their best opening. Whereas we, on the other hand, opened a Cramorant for the bench, opened a Comfey for the active, hit Battle VIP, and another to play another one to get 2 Battle VIPs. And we were going over, what do we have in the deck? What do we need to know that we have before we start? Very good practice for Lost Zone in general. Well, for any deck in general, just know what you have. We're able to start setting up our stuff. We got 2 Comfey cards. We've already used Colress. We're going to be setting up as much as we can to try and get to our set of 4 we need for a Cramorant. Showing you right there, we did not get Cramorant on one. We were not able to find a Colress experiment. I know it is rare, but we didn't. But we do have enough. Our opponent seems to be a lockbox deck, where you can use Klefki to stop your opponent basic abilities from your opponents. So Cramorant costs energy to attack, Comfey can't use its ability, Greninja can't use its ability. So we have to try and figure out a way around basically everything. We use Iono in order to try and refresh, try and find some stuff, and we get one of the absolute worst hands in the game with 4 energies in our hand, both of our water energy, one of our 2 psychic energies, and 1 steel energy. So we get almost no value. Luckily, Dialga is able to hit for 40 damage, plus 40 because of 1 steel energy, with just 1 energy. So we were able to knock out that Klefki, double damage because it's a steel versus a fairy, and our next move is just starting up Colress. We're looking for the right combination of things to get to our increased lost box, or the lost zone value, so we can still use our late game Sableye. Obviously Mimikyu is not great for us because they're able to just defend themselves and not get taken out, so we need to set ourselves up. How do we do that? We set up the lost zone so we can still use Sableye later, we can still use Radiant Greninja, we can still use Cramorant to remove Mimikyu. Fortunately, this one actually understands that all the basic Pokemon can get this wonderful tool for plus 50, and it's just enough to stay out of Cramorant's reach. Unfortunately for him, they don't do a lot of damage. So we're just able to just keep poking away with our Cramorant for 2 rounds and weaken him both down to 10 HP. A nice little experiment there, gives us another 2 into our lost zone. Unfortunately, with our Mirage Gate, we kind of whiff, and I think that's kind of on both of us not really paying attention to the fact that we already had a bunch of energies in our hand, and we don't know where the psychic energies are. Unfortunately, we just didn't have them. Our opponent hitting us with a Judge, even though the hand was pretty large, is very profitable for us. It puts our water energy back in the deck, puts steel energies back into the deck, so we have more access to a lot more things. And since we did hit double Mirage Gate, it just gives us the Radiant Ninja we need to remove that Mimikyu. So we decided to start setting up our Dialga just because, and giving ourselves a free 2-prize knockout. Finding boss here is incredible. Because we know what the deck is, we're kind of trying our best to play around Mimikyu. Boss's Orders allows us to walk around Mimikyu because if he puts it up front just to try and get us to stall for a round, we're able to go around it with Boss's Orders to take out the Cramorant instead. As you saw there though, luckily he had an Iono, so it was able to deal with us in one way or another. We're down to our last steel energy, not great, but he wasn't able to get the Mimikyu up, so this does save us because we're able to use our Dialga, Star Chronos a knockout, take a free full extra turn, see what we can get, and Boss's Orders. Okay, well, we got nothing. So what do? We retreat to Comfey to try and get more cards. This was the pilot being smarter than me, because I was like, do we just leave Dialga up here? Because I have no idea what we do with this. No. We can do all this other stuff. We have a Lost Vacuum to remove their tool. We have Comfey for draw options. And what is he going to do? Knock out Comfey for a prize? Congratulations, he still has 4 left. So it doesn't matter what he does. All we need is our Sableye in order to take a knockout. And they can't do more than 70 damage because it's only damage counters. So it didn't matter. Our opponent hits us with a Roxanne, which again, even though they're using hand disruption, continues to give us more value than it would be if they just didn't use the card. So we're just happy they did it. You know, we lose Comfey, woohoo, we can go with another Comfey. We still need 2 prizes, we can get there. We got the Colress experiment, Super Rod gives us energy, Nest Ball can find us our Cramorant, and Super Rod can give us energy. So we're able to set everything else back up to do massive damage. Psychic energy for our Sableye, water energy for our Greninja if need be. So we can set ourselves up just for success. We can use our Flower Selecting, get another energy. Neat, we set up Greninja. Super for us, Switch Cart allows us to fit innocently remove another one of his Pokemon. And at this point, our opponent really can't do a lot. And they expect, you know, like, oh, this will be fine. But they don't have Mimikyu. So our Dialga still can swing on him. He got lucky with the tool, so he thought he was safe. Unfortunately for him, with his 1 card that he gave us with the Iono, it happened to be the exact card we need to do 160 damage. And there it goes. Since we knew it was a steel energy, that was just kind of the only play we had. Otherwise, we probably would have put Comfey forward. Well, it wasn't the only play, but it was the best play. Anywho's, let us go into game 2, where I believe we were up against another Lost Box deck. Funny enough, I think we did this in 5 or 6 games, I think, to get all the... No, it was 5 games. And we ran into a lot of Lost Box versus Lost Box. And I think it was... That one was lost... the first game was a lockbox deck, which we thought was unique, so we wanted to show that. This game was Lost Zone Tina, but this was probably the most entertaining one, so we wanted to show this one. The other ones were just Lost Zone Dialga versus Lost Zone, and that was just, you know, it really is kind of a coin flip for if we get Dialga set up, then we just can get a knockout and they can't really do a lot because we get that extra turn. Whereas, yes, they can knock it out, but it didn't really matter. We have the advantage in the Lost Zone matchup, so it wasn't really that entertaining. This one was funny because our opponent, well, you can watch and find out. So far you can see we've just been setting up our Lost Zone. We hit the path to the peak. That is our path to the peak. The reason we play it is because it doesn't affect either one of us, but because it's our path to the peak, they can't play a path to the peak, which is better for us, mainly because we can use Lost Zone on it, Lost Vacuum on it to put it into our own Lost Zone in order to turbo our energies up. So it doesn't really matter if they want to use their Lost Vacuum on it or we use our own. Either way, it's going to go into our Lost Zone, which is going to be only beneficial to us. Yes, it does hurt the Greninja, but you can really see that it doesn't matter. Granted, we don't have any energies. Our opponent throws boss orders here, which confuses both me and Moon Kitty, because it's like, why? Like, I assume maybe they had like a thought that maybe because Dialga will be in the active, they can't do anything or something along those lines. But it was Lost Box versus Lost Box, and both decks run like 3 or 4 escape ropes or a bunch of switch cards for basics, like Switch Cart. So, I mean, it is a % chance we might not have it, but I felt it was a weird instance of using a supporter. This Giratina hits with an VSTAR because he's not finding enough cards to put into his Lost Zone. He only was able to get to 3 that turn because we took out his Comfey. Thus, he had to get 2 more in there somehow in order to start pushing the Cramorant attacks. We figure, you know, cut our losses. We don't need to do anything here and just go for the swing, weakening his Tina, which is great in order to push the late game aspect. The wonderful thing about Lost Zone is that you can push the late game aspect just by pushing that 110, using the Sableye damage, spreading its damage all over the place until you get to that late game aspect where you can still easily use Super Rod to bring your stuff back, 1 energy to set up a Sableye or a free attack with Cram, and you can just keep going in with small damage, but it's enough damage to still pressure winning the game. Unfortunately, our opponent was able to go from 5 to 6 with that Comfey, and then 8 with this Colress experiment, so they were able to get pretty far. They threw away their own path to the peak because they obviously couldn't play it, so that's bonus for us as well. Switching into his Cram, he's able to take out our Cram, which is sad, but leaving us prized evenly without our Dialga VSTAR is good for us. Like I said before, though, we're able to remove our own path to the peak in order to get to the places we need to go. We got ourselves to 7 because of that. We can use we wanted to use Mirage Gate, thin out the deck a smidgy bit, and we went all in. Now this was a little bit of peer pressure from me. This is Moon Kitty was like against it, but like as soon as I brought it up, Moon Kitty was all in of just like, it's possible, we just have to do it, which was just finding enough energy for Dialga VSTAR and getting the extra turn swing and then just going in, which was entirely doable. As you can see, we had enough energy, we had enough everything we needed. We just couldn't find the Dialga VSTAR after burning through, I don't even know how many cards that turn. But if it hit, it would have been awesome for content. So we just went for it, and it unfortunately didn't pan out, but we still got our Lost Zone set up. We got all of our cards in our hand. We still have another Colress to get to 10. We have so many different ways of still setting ourselves up for success. It's just like, but we could. And very quickly, Moon Kitty agreed and went, for the content. And I was like, that's what we're talking about. And if it worked, it would have been great. Our opponent's still setting up everything they need to set up. The Cramorant can take out our Comfey. He doesn't want to send up the Giratina to take it out because obviously you would have to use the VSTAR, so he's trying to hold it in the back, which is the same thing that we're trying to do. We have to get ourselves to 10, so we set up our Colress in order to try and find more cards, get ourselves to 10 so we can set everything up for our late game Sableye. Comfey is trying to find us some more pieces. Obviously we don't need a Colress experiment anymore because we just need to find our Dialga VSTAR. Thank goodness that we got rid of that path to the peak because we ended up finding it because of Greninja. We just need 1 steel energy in order to do it. How do we do that? We pass. Now, the idea for pushing the Zamazenta forward is because we knew Cram couldn't take a knockout on us. But quickly that information just changed when we just saw how many cards they had in their hand. We wish we could have used Iono in order to thin their hand out a little bit after this turn, but it just didn't work in our favor because we had so many other things that were just necessary. We had too many cards in our hand for basically failure. He goes Comfey to get the extra engine. He switches the Comfey back out because he needs to take a knockout here. Doesn't need to, he just does. Which, in my opinion, from my information, is try your best not to do it if you don't have to. And I know he had our opponent has Lost Vacuums in his deck. It's just weird that he didn't go for the Dialga or try and make a move on trying to remove the Dialga in a different way. We have the energy to remove Cram, and we have the Raihan set up now. So it's like, what do we do here? I tried to stop Moon Kitty, but it was a snap pick with the Pokégear that we didn't need to use, because if we use Iono, it almost guarantees us any one of the supporters that we're already looking at, because we'll have such a thinned out deck after using Iono. But that's okay. It wasn't necessary. It was just too fast. It was, you know, it could have been anything, you know, just a quick judgment call. But Star Chronos does get us a free extra turn, and we couldn't let our opponent stick around with a Giratina that was able to just finger snap and kill us. But looking at it, it was a little bit wonky of a move that we made here. We should have brought up the Giratina V and took that out, because if he puts up Giratina V Star to knock us out, his Giratina V Star would have had damage on it already, which our Zamazenta was able to take 220 on for a free knockout had he have done that, because it already had 110 damage on it. So we would have taken the free knockout and we would have won the game because we only had 2 prize cards left. It would have put us in a better position for basically just winning the game. Also, we would have, you know, if he did that, we would have had another turn for an Iono play and all this other stuff. Our opponent's still trying to get as many cards in as possible. They need to find a Grass Energy to use the what's it called, the VSTAR power. He needs to find Giratina V-Star, which he just found a Jet Energy. That's cool. And he found Roxanne, so that's cool too. And he can't use any of his attacks right now because he needs 1 Grass Energy, and he also finds a Mirage Gate. He looks through his deck. I guess he just doesn't feel like bringing out a second energy for the Comfey or something, so he just goes with the Grass Energy in order to set up Tina, and he uses Lost Impact. I don't know if it was like a fat finger click by mistake, or maybe he just didn't think he could use it for some reason, but he doesn't use Star Requiem to get a removal, which would have given him an attack for this turn. Maybe it was BM, I don't know. We hit him with an Iono, we ruin his hand, and we just set ourselves up to swing for 220, and if he finds the Grass Energy, he's got it. We're checking our discard pile and his Lost Zone, or his discard pile and his Lost Zone to see where his energies are, because they usually run, I think, 3 Grass Energies in this instance, but we just told him no. He couldn't find it off the top deck with our Iono play, so he just gets an energy, retreats to try and save himself an extra turn, which gives him a flower selecting, gives him the opportunity to try and set himself up a little bit further, and off that one-of pickup, he hits Roxanne again. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he finds another energy, or a way to find his energies, so he couldn't place anything else down. We Super Rod for the 1 Psychic Energy because it's all we need for Sableye in order to take a knockout on his Giratina in the back row, so that will also net us a win if Zamazenta gets pushed out for any reason. Sableye will also give us a win con. Unfortunately, though, we still have to wait. This game, for the last 3 turns, has come down to, can you get energy on Giratina? And if you do, you win. So we were talking about, like, okay, what does he have in his Lost Zone? Where is his energies at? We're not looking at anything. How many trainers does he have that he still hasn't used yet? I was like, this late in the game, you still have a Colress experiment? How in the world? You have no cards left in your deck. How is that even possible? Dude throws Greninja to the board, forgot that he had played his own Path to the Peak, so he can't even go for draw cards, and it didn't matter. He throws Mirage Gate, realizes he doesn't have anything left in the deck, and calls it a day. Concede. That was kind of a throw on his part, but it was also a throw on our part. We definitely would have won the game had we used a boss on the correct Giratina, but it would not have made much of a difference. Luckily, we got a win anyway. This will be our last game for this video. And I hope you guys have already been watching the video and enjoyed it so far. And if you've already put a like on the video, I appreciate it. If you haven't, pause the video, hit that like button. I want to see those numbers go up. Hooray. So unfortunately though, in our last game, we run into one of our worst matchups, Roaring Moon. The reason why Roaring Moon is such a pain in the neck is because of how many gust cards they run, which could be 2 different formats of the deck, which uses the cross switchers or the Pokemon catchers to bring Pokemon up. And unfortunately that gets around the Dialga with its Leafy Camo Poncho, which is also a Sidewinder card that no one really thinks exists or plays anymore, so people don't play around it. Our opponent was going first, was able to get the Squawk ability, got a pretty good setup, but it was a little lackluster in terms of getting every energy they needed, and they didn't find Moltres or more cards to throw more stuff into the discard pile. So luckily, we're able to get at least a turn to do something. We're hitting up the Comfeys with our Battle VIP that we get on 1 because we're so talented at the game. Into our Comfey, into 2 very rough decisions. Losing energy like this is not fun. Luckily though, we are still able to set ourselves up with our double Comfey turn, get some cards into the Lost Zone, and put him in a weird position where he doesn't really know where to go from here with this escape rope. We're going over the energy that we've lost in our Lost Zone already, so we have to make sure we don't lose too much more. We only have 1 water energy left, so we're not going to be able to use Greninja, which in this matchup, Greninja is only going to be useful against taking out more Pekka, which is not really useful, which is why we were able to throw away the water energy so easily. Our opponent is able to get the Dark Patch up and then does another weird play where he sets up the knockout. He can take a knockout here, but then throws Pokemon Catcher. I don't know if he meant to throw Pokemon Catcher or if he wanted it to hit Tails for some reason, but he brings up Greninja and then doesn't take it out. I don't understand what the plan was, and I still don't. So, you know, this was a bit of a whiff on our part. We were able to set things up, and we put 1 energy of the water energy in the Lost Zone and 1 of our water energies in the discard pile, thinking we'll be okay because we have Mirage Gate, and just forgot about the water energies entirely. And this is where we found out, wait a minute, where are our psychic energies? Finding out right there, we are missing 2 psychic energies. Doesn't feel great. We Super Rod just so we can get the extra energy up. We're able to retreat out, push another Comfey, get more energies, get more cards into the Lost Zone. Don't need another Dialga VSTAR because we already have it, so we just throw it away. And this is one of those scary turns where if our opponent does do well here, they can just bosses and, or, you know, Pokemon Catcher in, because we know it's Pokemon Catcher variant this time, Dialga if he gets lucky, and just take it out with 1 stadium. So luckily he didn't, so we still got ourselves put ahead here. He takes 1 prize, not a big deal in this matchup. We're able to set up our Dialga VSTAR, which is fantastic. Making our decisions, we need to know how many cards we have and what we can do with them. We can get Raihan to set up the Dialga VSTAR. Looking at our cards, you can see we do not have our Camo Poncho, so we really wanted to go with the Camo Poncho just so we can get some value out there, but didn't work that well. I felt we could have used like Super Rod Mirage Gate first, then used Comfey here, but I don't know. It felt weird to me, but that's, you know, I don't know. Maybe there was a reason for it. I'm not quite sure. We got our Dialga, and we're going to go with the Star Chronos. Feels good, man. Doesn't get a knockout, but I was like, oh, you know, like, I don't know the deck that well. And luckily, our pilot Moon Kitty does know the deck well enough. Using the Cramorant is the smarter move, and we found a switch, so we're able to keep all of our energies, go with the Cram for the 1-2 prize trade-off. We hit him, and if he hits us back, we're still ahead because we get 2 prizes for our 1 prize trade. Thank goodness our first 2 prizes that we did take happened to be both of our psychic energies that we were looking for, so now we can do something with that Sableye that we put down. Our opponent does take a little bit of time with the trekking shoes because they're trying to like basically figure out what they can do. Discard an energy, draw 2, and we hit their vitality. Great, he can draw 3 cards. His hand is finally starting to fill up a little bit. Places down another Roaring Moon. Anything here at all? No, unfortunate. We draw into another switch. Pretty solid when you have switch into boss's orders. I wonder what happens. Oh, that thing that has energy? Yeah, go away. 280 damage, gets that another knockout for another 2 prize cards. Feels great. Finds our Leafy Camo Poncho. Like I said, losing the Camo Poncho wasn't all that important, but it was still definitely a bossable target, which made it really upsetting that if he, you know, hit the boss, he could have taken it out. But luckily, our opponent didn't do too well with their allocation of resources. Earthen Vessel gets 2 more energies. Our opponent isn't sure how to really fix this. And as you can see in our hand, we do have that backup boss's orders. So if he doesn't mess with the hand or the hand disruption card, which I don't think Roaring Moon runs that much hand disruption, which I think is what they were looking for. I wasn't sure as to why they would throw Ultra Ball to get rid of 2 Professor's Researches just to play the Iono. But they didn't have anything. So we took the win anyway. Now, like I said, once again, the deck was not piloted by me. I tried to pilot a couple of games with it. I admit it was gruesome. I could not figure out what the hell I was doing. I took a beating. After watching somebody play the deck with me and understanding the deck, it did feel better, and I understood more of the outs and concepts of the list, and like how important and strong the idea of the deck can be. If you enjoyed this game or these games or this deck, once again, you can check it out in the Discord and I keep saying Discord, in the description link below. You can see the full list. Try it yourself. Once again, I say if you have practice with Lost Zone, you might find this deck incredibly powerful and incredibly enjoyable. If you do not have practice with Lost Zone, I would not recommend this because it'll be very confusing. Once again, this is Shira Yunker, SHIRAYUNKER, exclamation point over at Twitter or X or whatever the heck you want to call it at this point. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you guys when I stream on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do a lot of Pokemon stuff, but we also do some other games here and there. And if you guys have any fun or crazy or wacky ideas for decks, something that's way out of the box, but you know it can do well, head over to our Discord, also found in the description below, and check it out. Our deck list channel, post it in there and let me see it. I would love to see what you guys come up with. Adios, YouTube.